Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the blue planet on the viewing screen. Earth. That was what these creatures called their home world. He had seen hundreds of planets in his 30 cycles of service to the Empire, but this one looked ordinary. Blue oceans, green land masses, white clouds. Nothing special. "Commander, we have finished analyzing their technology," his second officer reported. The officer's scales rippled with amusement. "They are very primitive. They have only recently achieved faster-than-light travel. Their weapons are crude. Their ships are slow." Nodded. This was expected. They had been exploring space for thousands of years. These humans had only left their planet in any meaningful way a few decades ago. They were children playing with toys they barely understood. "How many ships do they have?" asked. "We count approximately 200 military vessels. Most are small patrol craft. They have perhaps 20 large warships." The officer made a gesture of dismissal. "Our invasion fleet alone has 100 advanced warships. This will be simple." Agreed. The Council had chosen Earth's location for a new colony. The planet was rich in rare minerals. The system had several useful moons and asteroids. The humans would have to leave or be removed. It was not personal. It was simply how the galaxy worked. The strong took what they needed from the weak. "Send the message," ordered. "Tell them to evacuate their colonies and surrender their military vessels. If they comply, we will relocate them to a different world. If they resist, we will use force." The message was sent, expected a quick response. Fear, perhaps, pleas for mercy. Maybe angry threats that meant nothing. Instead, hours passed with no reply. Finally, a transmission came through. A human appeared on the screen. He wore a dark blue uniform with silver insignia on his shoulders. His face was pale, his eyes dark, his expression unreadable. The nameplate on his uniform read, "Captain." "This is Captain of the Earth Defense Force," the human said. His voice was calm, almost flat. "We have received your message. Here is our response, no." Blinked. "No, you do not understand. We are offering you a chance to survive. You cannot win against us. Our technology is superior. Our forces are larger. Surrender now and live." Captain stared at him through the screen. "You came to our home. You threatened our families. You demand we leave the worlds we built with our own hands. The answer is no. If you want Earth, you will have to take it, and we will make you bleed for every meter." The transmission ended, stared at the blank screen. His officers looked at each other, confused. The humans had no chance. Why would they choose death? "Perhaps they do not understand their situation," his second officer suggested. "We should demonstrate our power. Destroy one of their small colonies. Then they will see reason." Considered this. It was a common tactic. Show overwhelming force, break their spirit, force surrender. He nodded. "Target their mining colony on the fourth moon. Fire when ready." The weapons were precise and devastating. The mining colony disappeared in a flash of light. 4,000 humans died in seconds. Watched, feeling nothing. He had done this before to other species. They always surrendered after the first demonstration. But the humans did not surrender. Instead, they attacked. Their ships were slower than vessels, that was true. Their weapons had shorter range, but they did not fight like any species had encountered before. Human ships moved in strange patterns, unpredictable and chaotic. When damaged, they did not retreat to repair. They pushed forward, accepting more damage to get closer to vessels. One human destroyer, heavily damaged and leaking atmosphere, accelerated directly at a cruiser. Watched in shock as the human ship rammed the cruiser at full speed. Both vessels exploded. The human captain had killed himself and his crew to destroy one ship. "Who does this?" his second officer whispered. "Who trades one ship for one ship when they have fewer ships?" More battles followed, the one most of them. Their technology was better, but the victories felt wrong. The humans lost ships, lost people, lost ground. But they never stopped fighting. They never asked for mercy. They never retreated permanently. Lieutenant worked in the tactical center of the defense station orbiting Earth. She had not slept properly in 3 days. None of them had. They attacked at all hours, never giving them rest, but noticed something important. "Sir," she said to her commanding officer, "I have been tracking the attack patterns. They have a weakness." Her officer looked up from the battle displays, exhausted. "What weakness? They are stronger than us in every way." Pulled up her analysis. "They are stronger, yes, but they rest. Every 14 hours their attack intensity drops significantly. I think they need sleep, long sleep, but we do not need as much sleep. We can rotate our crews, keep fighting while they rest." The officer stared at the data, then slowly smiled. It was a tired, grim smile. "You are right. We cannot beat them in straight combat, but we can exhaust them. We can make them hurt every hour of every day until they break." The new strategy was implemented across all human forces. While soldiers slept, humans attacked. When crews needed rest, human crews rotated in fresh. The humans began to understand something important about themselves. They were not the strongest species. They were not but they could endure. They could suffer. They could keep fighting long after others would quit. Private was part of a Marine unit defending a space station. They boarded the station with superior numbers and better weapons. The soldiers were taller, faster, stronger than humans. They had advanced armor and energy weapons. The human Marines had older ballistic rifles and standard body armor. The first exchanges went badly. Soldiers killed 3 Marines before the humans even landed a hit, watched his friends die and felt something cold settle in his stomach. Not fear. Anger. Pure, burning anger. They expected the humans to retreat, to hide, to surrender. Instead, and his unit attacked. They used the station's narrow corridors. They set traps. They ambushed from above and below. When a soldier's armor was too strong for their bullets, they used welding torches, maintenance tools, anything they could find. Took 3 shots to his armor before he managed to bring down a soldier. The impacts cracked his ribs. Pain shot through his chest with every breath, but he kept fighting. Around him, his fellow Marines did the same. Injured, exhausted, they did not stop. The boarding party eventually retreated, leaving behind 12 of their soldiers, dead, killed by inferior humans with primitive weapons. Commander received the reports from the station battle. He read them twice, not believing. His officers had warned that the humans fought strangely, accepting casualties that would break other species. But seeing the detailed report made it real. The humans did not fight to win. They fought to survive. And there was a difference. A species fighting to win might surrender when the cost was too high, but a species fighting to survive would pay any cost, suffer any loss, endure any pain. For the first time in his long military career, Commander felt something he had not felt in decades. A small, cold touch in the back of his mind. Uncertainty. 3 months had passed since the war began. Commander studied the casualty reports with growing concern. The Empire was winning. Their forces controlled 4 human colonies now. They had destroyed more than 60 human ships. By every military measure, they were succeeding. But the cost was wrong. Had commanded colonial invasions before. Usually, primitive species lost 10 soldiers for every 1 casualty. Against the humans, the ratio was nearly even. 1 soldier dead for every human killed. This should not be possible. "They are learning too quickly," his tactical officer reported. "Each time we use a strategy, they adapt to it. Yesterday's successful tactics become today's failures. They study us during combat, Commander. While we are still fighting, they are analyzing our movements." Watched footage from the latest battle. Human ships moved in unpredictable patterns now. They no longer fought in neat formations like proper military forces. They swarmed like insects, attacking from multiple angles, breaking off and regrouping in chaotic ways that made no sense. Until those tactics worked, again and again. And there is something else. the tactical officer continued, his voice uncertain. "The humans do not stop. Our soldiers need rest. 14 hours of sleep every cycle. But the humans, they rotate crews. They take stimulant drugs. They fight in shifts. We have not had a full rest period in 20 days. Our soldiers are exhausted." Captain stood on the bridge of his ship, the Indomitable. The destroyer was from dozens of battles. Half its weapon systems were damaged. The hull had been patched in 16 places. By all rights, the ship should have been sent back for repairs, but there was no time for that. "Cruiser detected," Lieutenant reported from her station. "Range, 300,000 kilometers. They have not seen us yet." Studied the tactical display. The cruiser was damaged, probably returning from another battle. It was alone, vulnerable, but it was still larger and more powerful than his destroyer. "Can we take it?" he asked. She ran calculations quickly. "If we attack directly, we have a 32% chance of survival. The cruiser has superior weapons and armor." Smiled grimly. Before the war, a 32% survival chance would have meant retreat, find better odds, wait for reinforcements, but 3 months of fighting had changed how humans calculated risk. "Set an intercept course," he ordered. "All crew to battle stations. We are going to kill that cruiser." The Indomitable accelerated toward the vessel, knew his ship was outmatched, but he also knew something about his crew that they did not understand. Humans could accept death if it meant completing their mission. The battle was brutal. The cruiser fired first, its energy weapons tearing into the Indomitable's hull. Alarms screamed. Fires erupted on multiple decks. Felt the ship shudder under the impacts. "Return fire," he ordered. "All weapons do not stop shooting." The human missiles and rounds hammered against the shields. The cruiser was stronger, better protected, but kept his ship moving, dodging, weaving, getting closer. In space combat, closer was usually worse for the smaller ship, but humans had learned to use their smaller size as an advantage. At close range, the Indomitable was harder to hit, brought his ship alongside the cruiser, almost touching. The captain tried to create distance, but matched every maneuver. At this range, both ships fired point-blank into each other. "Hull breach on decks 4 and 5, reported. "Engineering is venting atmosphere. We have lost main power to forward weapons." "Switch to backup systems," ordered calmly. "Keep firing." The bridge shook again. Sparks flew from control panels. 2 crew members were thrown from their stations, but the survivors stayed at their posts, fingers flying over controls, maintaining fire. Then something changed. The cruiser's shields flickered, failed. "They are losing power," shouted. "Target their reactor." Every functioning weapon on the Indomitable fired at once. Missiles streaked across the tiny gap between the ships. Rounds punched through armor. The cruiser tried to turn away, tried to escape. Too late, the reactor went critical. The cruiser exploded in a flash of white light. Watched the expanding debris field. His ship was crippled, barely able to maintain life support. They had lost 37 crew members, but they had killed a cruiser, a ship 4 times their size. "Get me damage control teams," he ordered. "We need to get this ship back to base." Private and Sergeant led their Marine unit through the corridors of a captured supply ship. The mission was simple: board the ship, gather intelligence, and plant explosives. The ship would be destroyed before they could reclaim it. But nothing in this war was simple. "Movement ahead," whispered into her comm. She was a veteran, 15 years in the Marines. Before the war, she had been training recruits. Now she was teaching them how to kill aliens in close combat. The soldiers appeared around the corner. They were tall, nearly 7 feet, with tough scales and natural weapons. They carried advanced energy rifles, had seen these rifles cut through steel walls. They fired first. One Marine died instantly, his armor melting, and the others dove for cover, returning fire with their old-fashioned guns. "Grenades," ordered. 3 grenades arced through the air. The soldiers scattered, their training excellent, but the grenades were not meant to kill them directly. The explosions damaged the corridor's structural supports and power conduits. Sparks flew. Smoke filled the passage. The lights went out. Darkness, that had better vision in low light. This should have been an advantage, but the humans had prepared. Activated his night vision goggles and moved forward. Around him, his unit did the same. They advanced through the smoke, using hand signals, moving like they had trained 1,000 times. They found the soldiers trying to regroup. The aliens were confused, their sensors overwhelmed by the smoke and electrical interference. The humans attacked from 3 directions at once. Close-quarters combat was brutal. They were stronger, faster. One soldier grabbed a Marine and threw him against a wall hard enough to crack armor. But 3 more Marines immediately attacked that soldier from different angles. They could not match the strength, so they used numbers. Teamwork, ruthless efficiency. Shot a soldier in the leg joint where the armor was thinnest. The alien fell. Before it could recover was there, finishing it with a combat knife. They moved like pack hunters, wounding and isolating their prey. The fight lasted 4 minutes. 3 Marines died. 2 more were badly injured, but all 7 soldiers were dead. "Plant the charges," ordered, her voice steady despite the blood on her armor. "We have 12 minutes before reinforcements arrive." Was an engineer, not a soldier. He was 34 years old, married, with a daughter who was 6. Before the war, he had worked on civilian transport ships. Now he commanded the engine room of a military frigate. The frigate was surrounded. 3 destroyers had caught them far from support. The captain was dead. Most of the command crew was dead. Found himself in charge of a dying ship with no hope of escape. "Engineering, what is our status?" the acting captain asked over the comm. She was a lieutenant, barely 25, suddenly commanding a doomed vessel. Looked at his displays. "We have power for maybe 20 more minutes. Main weapons are offline. Life support is failing. I can give you engines or shields, not both." There was a long pause. Then the lieutenant spoke again, her voice quiet but firm. "Can you overload the reactor?" "Understood immediately. You want to ram them." "If we are going to die anyway, let us take them with us. Can you do it?" Thought about his daughter. He thought about Earth. He thought about what they would do to his family if they won this war. "Yes," he said, "I can do it. Give me 5 minutes to set it up. Then point us at the biggest ship and give me full throttle." The acting captain's voice shook slightly. "Thank you for everything." He worked quickly, bypassing safety systems, removing control limiters, setting the reactor to cascade failure. Around him, his engineering crew worked silently. They all knew what was coming. None of them left their posts. "Ready," reported. "On your mark, Captain." The frigate turned toward the largest destroyer. The enemy ship fired, tearing into the frigate's hull. Alarms screamed. The ship shook violently. "All power to engines," the captain ordered. "Now." The frigate accelerated, faster than it was designed to move. The reactor began to scream, temperature climbing beyond safety limits. Watched the numbers rise, knowing exactly when it would fail. The destroyer tried to move, but the frigate was too close, too fast. They collided. The reactor exploded. The blast consumed both ships and damaged a second destroyer so badly it had to retreat. 200 humans died, but they took 600 soldiers with them. Commander watched the footage of the frigate's final moments. He watched it 3 times, trying to understand. The human ship had been defeated. The crew could have surrendered, become prisoners, lived. Instead, they had chosen mutual destruction, chosen death if it meant killing the enemy. "What kind of species does this?" whispered. His tactical officer had no answer. No species in the known galaxy fought this way. Sacrifice was acceptable for critical objectives, but the humans sacrificed themselves for minor tactical advantages. They died to destroy single ships. They fought impossible battles just to slow the advance by hours. The humans were not trying to win. They were trying to make the pay for every victory, and the price was becoming very high. 6 months into the war, the Empire controlled 12 human colonies. On paper, this was success. In reality, Commander was beginning to question everything he thought he knew about warfare. The colonies were not truly controlled. They were occupied, and there was a difference. On the mining colony of Titan Base, a garrison of 300 soldiers tried to maintain order over 2,000 human civilians. The humans had been ordered to continue mining operations under supervision. They had appeared to comply. Then the accident started. Mining equipment mysteriously malfunctioned. Explosives went missing from storage. Tunnels collapsed at inconvenient times. 3 soldiers died in what appeared to be an unfortunate equipment failure. Then 5 more. Then 8. These are not accidents, the garrison commander reported too. The human civilians are waging war against us. Old men sabotage machinery. Women poison our food supplies. Children act as spies and messengers. We cannot tell which humans are hostile because all of them are hostile. Reviewed the reports from other occupied colonies. The pattern was the same everywhere. Human civilians fought with whatever tools they had. They did not wear uniforms. They did not announce themselves as soldiers. They simply killed soldiers whenever possible and melted back into the civilian population. This is against the rules of war, second officer protested. Civilians are not supposed to fight. This is barbaric. Tell the humans that, replied grimly. See if they care about rules. Captain's ship had been destroyed 2 months ago. He now commanded a new vessel, another destroyer named Defiant. His crew was a mix of veterans and new recruits. They had learned to work together quickly. In this war, those who did not learn fast died fast. Supply convoy detected, Lieutenant reported. She had been promoted after her tactical insights had saved multiple battles. 6 transport ships with 2 destroyer escorts. They are heading toward the occupied zone. Studied the tactical plot. The convoy was well protected. His single destroyer could not defeat 2 destroyers in open combat. Standard military doctrine said to avoid engagement, wait for better odds. But had learned that standard doctrine did not win this war. How long until they reach the convoy? He asked. 72 hours at their current speed, replied. Good, that gives us time to prepare. I want every mine we have loaded and ready. And get me Captain's squadron on the comm. We are going to need help with this one. The ambush was set up in an asteroid field along the convoy's route. Its destroyer and 3 smaller human frigates commanded by Captain waited, powered down, hiding among the rocks. They had spent 60 hours in silent running, the crews barely moving, conserving every bit of power. When the convoy entered the asteroid field, the humans struck. Mines that had been carefully planted in the convoy's path detonated. The explosions were not powerful enough to destroy the large transport ships, but they damaged the escort's sensors and shields. Before they could react, the human ships powered up and attacked from 4 different directions. Knew this battle had to be fast. The escorts were damaged but still dangerous. If the fight lasted too long, the humans would lose. All weapons free, he ordered. Target the transport ships, ignore the escorts. The escort commanders immediately understood the human strategy. They positioned themselves between the human attackers and the transports, but had expected this. Captain, execute your run, he ordered. 3 frigates broke off from the main attack and accelerated at maximum speed toward the transports from a different angle. The escorts tried to reposition, but they could not protect all sides at once. 2 of the transport ships exploded under the frigate's missile barrage. The escorts turned their full attention on squadron. 1 frigate was destroyed in seconds. Another was crippled, but the distraction had worked. brought the Defiant in close, and fired everything at the remaining transport ships. 4 more transports were destroyed or disabled. "Break off," ordered. "All ships retreat into the asteroid field." The human ships scattered, using the asteroids for cover. The escorts pursued but could not catch the smaller, more maneuverable human vessels. After 20 minutes of fruitless hunting, they gave up and retreated with their single surviving transport. Assess the cost. 1 frigate destroyed, another heavily damaged, 43 crew members dead, but they had destroyed 5 transport ships carrying weapons, ammunition, and supplies meant for occupation forces. It was a good trade. In the arithmetic of this war, it was always a good trade if you hurt the enemy more than you hurt yourself. Sergeant had been promoted to lieutenant after the supply ship raid. Now she commanded a full marine company on one of the occupied colonies, but she was not with the military forces fighting in space. She was on the ground, organizing the resistance. The humans on Titan base had no military weapons. They had confiscated everything, so taught them to make weapons from mining tools, taught them to build explosives from common chemicals, taught them to fight and run and hide and fight again. "We cannot beat them in open combat," she told the civilians gathered in a hidden tunnel. "We are not soldiers. Most of us are miners, engineers, farmers, but we can make them afraid. We can make every day on this colony dangerous for them. We can make them use more soldiers to guard us, soldiers they need elsewhere." An old man raised his hand. His name was, and he had worked in the mines for 40 years. "What can I do? I am 68 years old. I cannot fight young alien soldiers." Smiled. "You do not need to fight them directly. You know these mines better than anyone. You can lead them into dangerous areas. You can cause accidents. You can sabotage their equipment. They think old humans are harmless. Use that." Over the next weeks proved to be one of their most effective resistance fighters. He moved slowly, acted confused, pretended to be a harmless old man. They ignored him. That was their mistake. He led a patrol into an unstable section of the mine. The tunnel collapsed, killing 6 soldiers. He contaminated a water supply with chemicals that made them sick but did not kill them immediately. He passed information to about guard schedules and weak points in their security. When they finally realized what he was doing, they came for him. They found him in his quarters, sitting calmly at a table. On the table was a large bomb he had built himself. His hand was on the detonator. "You can leave now," told the soldiers in broken English, "or we all die together. Your choice." They retreated. They called for their commander. The commander sent a negotiator. "You do not need to die, old human," the negotiator said through a translator device. "Surrender. You will be treated fairly." Laughed. It was a tired, bitter sound. "Fair. You invaded our home. You killed when you destroyed the orbital station. Fair ended when you started this war. Now there is only survival or death." He pressed the detonator. The explosion destroyed an entire section of the colony's residential area, killing 17 soldiers. When heard what happened, she did not cry. She had no tears left. Instead, she organized a memorial and used sacrifice to inspire others. The resistance grew stronger. The garrison commander sent increasingly desperate reports to command. "We need more soldiers. We need 3 times our current numbers just to maintain basic security. The humans do not stop. When we kill their fighters, more appear. When we destroy their hiding places, they find new ones. This colony is costing us more in soldiers and resources than it produces in value." Commander read these reports from every occupied colony. The message was always the same. The humans would not submit, would not cooperate, would not stop fighting even when the battle was hopeless. His second officer approached with new casualty figures. "Commander, we have now lost more than 2,000 soldiers in this war. The Empire has not suffered casualties like this in 50 years. The Council is demanding answers." Looked at the numbers. 2,000 dead. It was a tiny fraction of their total military, but it was enormous compared to what they had expected. This was supposed to be a simple colonial operation. Take the territory, relocate or pacify the natives, begin resource extraction. Instead, they were fighting a grinding war of attrition against an enemy that refused to acknowledge they had lost. Request reinforcement fleet, ordered. Triple our current force strength and send a message to the Council. Tell them this war is not what we thought it would be. The humans are different. His second officer hesitated. Different how, Commander? Thought about the footage he had seen. Human soldiers fighting until their last breath. Civilians building bombs in their homes. Old men sacrificing themselves to kill a handful of enemies. Ships ramming into superior forces. Colonies that cost more to hold than they were worth. Every species we have conquered before fought to win, said slowly. When they realized they could not win, they surrendered. It is logical, it is sane, but the humans do not fight to win. They fight to survive. And when survival is impossible, they fight to make us pay. They fight to hurt us. They fight because they would rather die than submit. He paused, staring at the casualty reports. We can defeat them militarily. We have better technology, more ships, larger armies. But I am beginning to wonder if military victory will matter. You cannot occupy a species that would rather burn their own worlds than serve you. You cannot control a people who see death as preferable to surrender. The second officer's scales paled slightly. What are you saying, Commander? I am saying, replied quietly, that we may win every battle and still lose this war. On Earth, in the military command center, human officers analyzed the same data from a different perspective. They were losing ground. They had lost colonies, ships, soldiers. They were slowly pushing them back toward their home world. But they were also winning in ways they did not understand. They are requesting more forces, an intelligence officer reported. They expected to conquer us with one fleet. Now they need 3 fleets just to hold what they have taken. We are bleeding them, not fast enough to stop them, but enough to make them hurt. Admiral studied the strategic map. She was 56 years old, a veteran of 3 smaller conflicts before they arrived. She had seen war, but nothing like this. How long can we sustain this level of resistance? She asked. The room was quiet. Everyone knew the answer. Not long enough. They had more ships, more soldiers, more resources. Eventually, the humans would run out. Unless they changed the game. We need to buy time, said. Time to build more ships, time to train more soldiers, time to reverse engineer their technology. Every day we survive is another day to prepare. Every soldier we kill is one they cannot use elsewhere. We may not win, but we will make them remember us. Around the table, grim faces nodded. That was the human strategy, not victory, survival and vengeance. 9 months into the war, everything changed. The human engineers had been studying captured technology since the first battles. They had taken apart destroyed ships, analyzed weapons, examined power systems. What should have taken decades of research happened in months. The humans were learning at a speed that terrified the observers. Lieutenant sat in the cockpit of humanity's creation. The fighter looked human from the outside, but inside it was a hybrid. Human design philosophy merged with reverse-engineered technology. The result was something neither side had seen before. Flight Control, this is Striker 1, said into her comm. All systems are green, requesting permission for combat test. Permission granted, Striker 1, good hunting. Accelerated away from the carrier. The fighter handled differently than anything she had flown before, more responsive, faster. The power systems gave it acceleration that no pure human design could match, but the human control systems and weapons targeting were better than equivalents. Patrol detected, her co-pilot reported. He was her weapons officer, a young pilot who had survived 6 battles. 4 fighters, standard patrol formation. "Time to see if this works," said. She activated the targeting system. The fighters detected her approach and moved to intercept. They expected an easy kill. Human fighters were slower, less maneuverable. Every previous encounter had proven this. Proved them wrong. The hybrid fighter moved like nothing they had seen. She dodged their first volley of fire with maneuvers that should have been impossible for a human craft. Then she returned fire. Her weapons were human-made, but enhanced with energy systems. They hit harder than standard human weapons and fired faster than weapons. One fighter exploded. The other three scattered, shocked, pursued, calling out targets and firing solutions. Another fighter died, then a third. The last pilot tried to run. His hybrid fighter was faster. She caught him and destroyed his ship with a single burst of fire. "Flight control, this is Striker 1, reported, her voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding her system. "All hostile fighters destroyed. The hybrid design works. Request authorization to begin mass production." Within weeks, human forces were fielding entire squadrons of hybrid fighters. The technological advantage was shrinking rapidly. Commander received the reports with growing alarm. The humans were adapting technology faster than his analysts had thought possible. But the truly disturbing news came from a different source. His chief medical officer approached him with a data pad. "Commander, we have a situation in the prisoner camp. I think you need to see this." The had captured several hundred human prisoners over the course of the war. They were kept in a secure facility on a conquered colony. Visited the camp, curious about what the medical officer wanted to show him. In the medical bay, he found a soldier with a bandaged arm. Next to him, a human prisoner named was organizing medical supplies, wore the uniform of a human medic. "Explain this," demanded. The medical officer gestured to, "This human is a medic. When the soldiers in the camp were injured in an accident, he asked to help treat them. I allowed it under supervision. He has been treating our soldiers the same as human prisoners, with care, competence, compassion. Stared at, you heal your enemies." Looked up from his work. He was young, maybe 25. His eyes were tired but clear. "I am a medic," he said simply. "I took an oath. I treat the injured, all injured, even you." "We are at war," said. "I have killed thousands of your people. You should hate me." "I do hate what you have done," replied calmly. "I hate this war, I hate the death, but hating you personally, that takes too much energy, and it does not help anyone. Right now, this soldier needs his wound cleaned. Do you want me to do my job, or do you want to talk about philosophy?" Left the medical bay deeply confused. The humans fought like demons on the battlefield. They sacrificed themselves without hesitation. They never surrendered, never stopped, never showed mercy in combat. But away from battle, they could switch to compassion instantly. What kind of species could be so brutal and so kind at the same time? The answer came during the next major battle. They had gathered their largest fleet yet, 300 warships, the most powerful force they had deployed in decades. They were going to push toward Earth itself, crush the main human fleet, force a final surrender. Admiral gathered every human ship that could fly. She knew the numbers. 200 human ships against 300 vessels. Poor odds, but not impossible. The fleets met near Mars. The battle was massive, violent, chaotic. Ships exploded on both sides. Thousands died in the first minutes of combat. Then they revealed their ultimate weapon. A massive ship, larger than any other vessel in the battle, moved toward Mars. It was a planet cracker, a weapon designed to destroy entire worlds. The plan was clear: destroy Mars as a demonstration, force Earth to surrender or watch their planets burn. Admiral watched the planet cracker charge its weapons. She had minutes to make a decision. Every tactical analysis said it was impossible to stop. The weapon was too well protected, too powerful, too far away for conventional weapons to reach in time. So she chose an unconventional solution. All ships, she broadcast on open channels. This is Admiral, the enemy is preparing to destroy Mars. 12 million humans live on Mars, our families, our friends, our future. We cannot let this happen. She paused, her voice calm despite what she was about to order. All ships will execute simultaneous faster-than-light jump directly into the enemy formation. Coordinate at these jump points. Military vessels will target the planet Cracker. Civilian ships will create chaos and distraction. We will stop that weapon, whatever the cost. Admiral, her tactical officer whispered, that jump is insane. We will come out of FTL directly in the middle of their fleet. Half our ships will not survive the transition. I know, replied, send the order anyway. Every human ship, military and civilian, prepared for the jump. Cargo haulers, colony transports, mining ships, military destroyers and frigates, even small personal yachts, everything that could fly joined the formation. Captain received the order on the Defiant. Lieutenant looked at him with wide eyes. Sir, this jump will bring us out less than 10 kilometers from enemy ships. The collision risk alone. I know, interrupted. Send it to navigation. We jump with everyone else. Across the human fleet, similar conversations happened. Everyone knew this was desperate, insane, but they also knew what was at stake. The human fleet jumped. 200 ships appeared inside the formation in a coordinated flash of light. The effect was devastating. Some ships collided with vessels immediately. Others emerged with ships directly in their firing solution. The carefully organized formation became instant chaos. Human military ships fired everything they had at the planet Cracker. Missiles, rounds, energy weapons stripped from captured vessels. The planet Cracker's shields held against the first assault, but the humans did not stop. Civilian ships, unarmed and unarmored, rammed into escorts protecting the planet Cracker. A colony transport with 3,000 civilians aboard accelerated at maximum speed toward a battleship. The battleship destroyed the transport easily, but the wreckage scattered across space, creating obstacles and confusion. Captain commanding a squadron of frigates saw an opening. The planet Cracker's shields had a gap just for a moment as they adjusted to the chaos. All ships follow me. We are going in. Her squadron, just 12 frigates, dove toward the gap. Point defense systems destroyed 10 of them in seconds, but the last 2 got through. They fired every weapon at the planet Cracker's main weapon array at point-blank range. The planet Cracker's weapon exploded. The blast consumed 2 frigates and damaged the massive ship critically. It began to break apart, its secondary explosions tearing through nearby vessels. The battle raged for 6 more hours. When it ended, both fleets were devastated. They had lost 140 ships, including the planet Cracker. The humans had lost 130 ships. By military standards, it was essentially a draw. By human standards, they had won. Mars was saved. The ultimate weapon was destroyed, and they now knew that humans would pay any price to protect their worlds. Commander survived the battle. His flagship was damaged but functional. He stood on the bridge, staring at the casualty reports, unable to process what he had witnessed. The humans had jumped into certain death. They had sacrificed civilian ships. They had used tactics that no sane military commander would consider, and they had stopped the planet Cracker. Commander, his second officer said quietly, we have a transmission from the human fleet. It is from Captain. Appeared on the screen. His uniform was torn. Blood stained his face. Behind him, the bridge of his ship was a wreck, but his eyes were clear and hard. Commander said, I am transmitting on all channels so your council will hear this too. You tried to destroy Mars. You failed. You have seen what we will do to protect our homes. We will sacrifice everything. We will burn our ships. We will die to the last human, but we will stop you. Leaned forward, his voice dropping but losing none of its intensity. You are stronger than us. You have better technology, more ships, but you do not understand what you are fighting. You think this is a war for territory. For us, this is survival. There is no compromise in survival. There is no surrender. There is only victory or death." The transmission ended, stood in silence. Around him, his bridge crew looked shaken. For the first time since the war began, Commander felt genuine fear. Not fear of death. He was a soldier. Death was always a possibility. But fear of what this war had become. The humans were not just defending their territory. They were fighting with the desperation of a species that believed extinction was the alternative. And desperate species were the most dangerous kind. "Send a priority message to the Council," ordered. His voice was quiet but firm. "Tell them we need to reconsider our strategy. The humans cannot be conquered by conventional warfare. They will fight until they are extinct or we are. We need a different approach." "What approach, Commander?" Looked at the tactical display, at the debris field where thousands had died on both sides, and spoke a single word that would change everything. "Negotiation." 1 year had passed since the first arrived at Earth. The galaxy was watching now. Other species had heard about the war. They watched with curiosity and growing alarm as the mighty empire struggled against a species that had barely mastered space travel. The council met in emergency session. They reviewed casualty reports, resource expenditure, strategic assessments. The numbers told a story they did not want to believe. "We have lost 4,000 soldiers," one council member stated. "We have spent resources equivalent to 20 standard colonial operations. We control 14 human colonies, but each one costs us more to hold than it produces. Our fleet strength in the sector has been reduced by 40%, and the humans are still fighting." Another council member spoke up. "But we are winning. They have lost more ships, more colonies, more soldiers. Military victory is inevitable." "Is it?" The eldest council member, a veteran of countless wars, looked around the table. "Commander has sent multiple reports. The humans are reverse engineering our technology at impossible speed. They fight with tactics we cannot predict. They accept casualties that would break any other species, and they show no sign of ever surrendering. Even if we conquer Earth, what then? Do we garrison every human world forever? Do we fight human resistance movements for the next century?" The council chamber fell silent. No one had a good answer. "Commander has requested permission to negotiate," the eldest member continued. "I propose we grant this request. We can still achieve our strategic goals through diplomacy rather than continued bloodshed." The vote was close, but it passed. They would negotiate. Commander sent the message himself. He addressed it to Captain, the human officer he had spoken with several times during the war. Ship, the Defiant, had survived 9 major battles. The man himself had become something of a legend among both humans and. "Captain, this is Commander. I am authorized by the Council to negotiate a ceasefire and possible peace terms. Will you meet with me?" The response came 3 hours later, just one word: yes. They met on a neutral space station operated by a third-party species. The station was small, barely large enough for the 2 delegations, arrived with a team of diplomats and strategists. He was shocked when he saw the human delegation. Captain had come alone. "Where are your diplomats?" asked. "Your political leaders?" Sat down at the negotiating table. He looked older than his years. The war had aged everyone. "I am here to speak for humanity. If we reach an agreement, I will take it to Earth for approval, but I have the authority to negotiate." Studied the human. His uniform was worn but clean. His face was from battles, but his eyes were clear, alert, calculating. This was not a simple soldier. This was someone who understood war at every level. "Very well," said. "Let us begin. The Empire is willing to withdraw from all occupied human territories. We will return prisoners. We will pay reparations for damage caused. In exchange, we ask for mining rights to the asteroid belts in 3 uninhabited systems near human space. We will not claim sovereignty, merely commercial access. Listened without expression. What guarantees do we have that you will not invade again in 10 years when you have rebuilt your forces? We will sign a treaty, included in galactic law, the do not break treaties. You did not have a treaty with us before, pointed out. You simply invaded. Why should we trust you now? Hesitated. Then he decided honesty was the best approach. Because this war has cost us more than we expected. Because you have proven that conquering humanity is possible but not practical. Because continued fighting benefits neither of us. And because... He paused, struggling with the words. Because we are afraid of you. Raised an eyebrow. Afraid. You have more ships, better technology, larger armies. All true, agreed. But we have learned something in this war. Military superiority means nothing against a species that refuses to be conquered. You have shown us that you will sacrifice anything to survive. Your soldiers fight until death. Your civilians become warriors. Your engineers turn peaceful tools into weapons. You adapt and learn faster than should be possible. Leaned forward. Do you know what the other galactic species are saying about this war? They are saying they made a terrible mistake. They are saying humanity is the most dangerous species they have seen in 1,000 years. Not because you are strong, but because you never stop. A species that fights like you do, learns like you do, never surrenders like you do, that species cannot be conquered. It can only be destroyed. And the cost of destroying you would break us. Was quiet for a long moment. You are right, he finally said. We would rather die than submit. Every human knows this. We broadcast our military losses every day. Everyone sees the casualty counts, but no one has suggested surrender, not once. Some might call this foolish, suicidal, but it is who we are. He stood and walked to the station's window. Outside, stars glittered in the darkness. On Earth, we have a saying, those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. Humans have fought each other for our entire existence. We have survived ice ages, plagues, wars, disasters. We have nearly destroyed ourselves a dozen times, but we always survive because we are stubborn, because we adapt, because we never give up. Turn back to face. Your offer is acceptable. We will agree to the ceasefire and your mining rights, but I have conditions. Name them. First, you will share technology. Not weapons, but medical advances, environmental systems, agricultural improvements. We want the knowledge that will help our people. Nodded, agreed. Second, we want a permanent communication channel. Human and officers will meet regularly. We will build understanding, trust, so this never happens again. Also agreed. Third, his voice hardened. If any force ever threatens human territory again, the ceasefire ends immediately. And next time, we will not fight defensively. We will bring the war to your worlds. We will use every tactic you taught us. We will make you remember why peaceful coexistence is better than war. Felt a chill run through his scales. The threat was not empty. The humans had proven they could and would do exactly what promised. There will be no next time, said firmly. The Council has learned its lesson. Humanity will be left in peace. They spent the next 6 hours working out details. When they finished, they both stood and faced each other. On impulse, extended his hand in the human gesture of greeting. Shook it. I do not like you, said bluntly. You invaded my home, you killed my friends. One day I might forgive that, but I will never forget. I understand, replied. For what it matters, I respect you, all of you. In a galaxy full of species, humanity stands apart. You are terrifying, but also admirable. The news of the ceasefire spread quickly. On Earth, people celebrated, but with careful reserve. They had won, but the cost had been enormous. Nearly 40,000 soldiers dead, 12 colonies damaged or destroyed, hundreds of ships lost. Lieutenant worked in the new military analysis center. Her job now was to study tactics and technology, preparing for future threats. She hoped there would be no future threats, but hoped was not strategy. Lieutenant, the Marine who had led resistance movements, received a medal. She did not attend the ceremony. She was too busy training the next generation of soldiers, teaching them what she had learned. "We were lucky," she told her trainees. "The fought honorably by their standards. The next enemy might not. We must be ready for anything." Pilot commanded the new hybrid fighter wing. She spent her days training pilots on the advanced systems, pushing the limits of what human technology could do. "Never let our guard down," she told her squadron. "We won this time. Next time might be different." Medic returned to civilian life. He opened a clinic in a reconstructed colony. When asked why he treated prisoners with compassion, he always gave the same answer: "War makes enemies. Peace requires we remember our humanity. If we become as cruel as our worst enemies, what have we won?" The treaty was signed 3 months after the negotiations. Representatives from a dozen galactic species attended as witnesses. When the signing was complete, the Inhumans faced each other one last time. Commander spoke to the assembled representatives. "Let the galaxy remember this war. Remember that the Empire, with all our power and technology, could not conquer one small species. Remember why. Humanity does not fight like other species. They fight like survival itself depends on every battle, because for them it does." He paused, his next words carefully chosen. "We came to Earth expecting an easy victory. We found an impossible enemy, an enemy that learns from every mistake, that sacrifices without hesitation, that shows mercy in peace and ruthlessness in war. The galaxy should learn from our mistake. Leave humanity in peace. Trade with them. Learn from them. Cooperate with them. But never, ever threaten them." Captain spoke next. His words were simpler but just as powerful. "We did not want this war. We did not start it, but we finished it. The cost was terrible. We will honor our dead by making sure their sacrifice means something. Humanity will join the galactic community as partners, not subjects. We offer friendship to those who offer it to us. And we promise swift justice to anyone who threatens us again." The war memorial was built on Earth in Geneva, where humanity's old United Nations had once stood. The memorial was simple: a black wall with names. 40,000 names of soldiers who died. But at the base of the wall, a plaque carried a message written by an engineer who had sacrificed his ship to save others. "We did not start this war, we finished it. Remember the fallen, protect the future, never surrender, never forget." Across the galaxy, alien students learned about the human war in their history classes. They learned about the technological superiority. They learned about humanity's fierce resistance. They learned about the cost of the war and the peace that followed. But most importantly, they learned one fundamental truth that every species now understood: never awaken the persistence predator. Because humans do not just fight, they survive. And there is nothing in the universe more dangerous than a species that has learned to turn survival itself into a weapon. Commander retired after the war. He spent his remaining years writing about his experiences. His final book was titled Facing Humanity in Battle, a Commander's Memoir. In it, he wrote one passage that became famous across the galaxy. "I have fought many battles against many species. I have seen courage and cowardice. I have seen wisdom and foolishness, but I have never seen anything like humanity. They are not the strongest, they are not the fastest, they are not but they are the most determined. And determination, I learned too late, is the most powerful weapon in the universe. We defeated them in battles. They defeated us in the war, because they understood something we did not. Victory is not about winning every fight. It is about being the side that refuses to lose." 20 years later, human and trade flourished. Young soldiers trained with human Marines, learning tactics that made them uncomfortable but effective. Human engineers worked with scientists, creating technology neither could make alone. And in quiet moments, old veterans from both sides met and shared stories. They did not become friends. The wounds were too deep for that, but they developed respect, understanding, and most importantly, peace. Captain, now Admiral, commanded Earth's defense forces. He was 60 years old, gray-haired, tired, but still vigilant. His office overlooked the memorial. Sometimes, late at night, he stood at the window and read the names on the wall. Lieutenant, now his chief of staff, found him there one evening. "Do you think it will happen again?" she asked quietly. "Another war?" Was quiet for a long moment. "Maybe. The galaxy is large. There are many species, but if it does happen, we will be ready. We learned our lessons. We will never be unprepared again." "And if we are not ready?" Turned to face her. His eyes held the same determination they had held during the darkest days of the war. "Then we will do what we always do," he said simply. "We will survive, we will adapt, we will fight, and we will make them remember that humanity never surrenders, never forgets, never stops." In the darkness between stars, the galaxy continued its ancient dance. Species rose and fell. Empires expanded and contracted. Wars began and ended. But in one small corner of space, around a yellow star, one species had proven something fundamental. They had shown the galaxy that survival was not about strength or technology or numbers. Survival was about refusing to quit, about learning from every mistake, about standing up every time you were knocked down. Survival was about being human. And the galaxy would never forget the lesson.